All right, and we should be live. Welcome back, everyone, to the final day, the final moment where Tone gets to take the first sip of water since Wednesday around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Time, and now it is 7 in the morning here in Roatan, Honduras, and I got an amazing guest for you guys. Dr. August Dunning himself, the man whose book I've been following for this Phoenix Protocol diet. August, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Tom.
All right, guys, please confirm that the audio and video is coming in clear. We're jumping right in to the most important questions, and then I'll show you guys my sleep stats from last night, if you can call them stats, because last night was the worst. I'm going to talk about that with August. August, I have this is by far the most important question. I'm going to make myself on a slightly bigger screen. Pure room temperature water, same water but cold. Hold on. Sparkling water, fresh coconut out of the fridge. What am I taking a sip of?
I would do the coconut first. It's the most amazing taste ever. Yeah.
Really? Even though it has sugar?
Well, it has potassium in it. You have to reestablish your potassium levels.
Right. See, I have an electrolyte mix with a lot of potassium, but it has other stuff. It has zinc, it has sodium, it has magnesium, it has a little bit of manganese, and
that's good.
One more thing. So what should I do? Should I put a little bit of this in water, or do I go for the coconut?
Well, I'd do both. I'd put some of that in water and sip back and forth. Sip both. You know, my whole thing is about that taste of coconut water after these things.
All right. Let's do the coconut. I'm going to teach people how to crack a coconut. I bet you a lot of people that live in the city, you see a coconut like this in your store, and you're like, I don't have a machete. I don't want to slice my finger off. How do I open a coconut like this? Let me show you. All you need is one of these wine openers that I'm sure people have. And if you notice, these coconuts have 3 dots. One of these dots is easily pokeable right through. I've opened so many of these, I'm going to guess the right one probably on the first try. I think it's this one right here. And I'm wrong. Of course I'm wrong. It's on camera. This one right there. And bam, goes right in. Super easy. And now this hole is probably not big enough, so I use the back of the handle to just make a bigger hole, just like that. And now turn the coconut over, and it starts to drip. All right, 1 second. I wish I had a machete to then crack it open for the coconut insides. Hold on. I need this dripping right into the water cup. Now you see it dripping. Come on, I want to leave it like that. There you go. You hear it dripping. I'm gonna leave that go. I'm gonna leave that be. I think I'm gonna cut it with some water. And cold water, warm water, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, cold, whatever's more, interesting and comfortable for you.
I love cold water. All right. I'm going to take my first sip of just regular water. I did brush my teeth for the first time this morning. Oh my God, that was the greatest sip of water ever. Coconut is doing its thing. What I'm going to do next is I have one of these tin water bottles. I'm going to pour the cold water in here. And this way I can put my personal electrolyte mix in. I'm not going to put too much. I'm just going to put 1 scoop. 1 small scoop, like a small scoop and a big scoop. Just a little bit. It does have potassium. Oh, wow, this was a good coconut. Like this coconut gave me more than half the glass. Look at that.
Yeah, that's good.
Freaking amazing. And
now take a sip of that coconut water.
About to. Gonna shake that up. That's my electrolyte mix. I'm gonna be sipping on that as well. And I'm not gonna pound water. I'm just gonna take very small sips.
Yeah.
This is how we break the fast. I'm just gonna take a sip of the pure coconut water. There's like little tiny chunks of coconut in there, if you guys can see it.
Good.
Oh man, is my video okay? I'm getting like breakup on the thing here. Guys, please let me know if the audio video is having an issue. I'm gonna hit the record button. Local recording. Video, audio. Is it recording? Recording. Okay. I think so. Just in case. I don't. It's starting to drizzle a little bit. Shit, that sucks. I have all my gear outdoors. It's okay. We're gonna move on. If anything, I pause and I move everything indoors. August Dunning has lots of time for us. You guys know I don't know how to do a 30-minute podcast. This is gonna be like a Joe Rogan show because I got so many questions. I had my first sip of water. Maybe I'll do a few more sips of the coconut water, but I am scared of the sugar. So I'm probably going to then cut it with some regular water. Maybe some,
don't be afraid of the natural sugar in coconut water. You need some of that in because you need to feed your muscles and stuff. You transition away from fat metabolism, oxidative phosphorylation, back into glycogen synthesis because your body needs it. You don't want to eat pure sugar and stuff like that and all these fruit juice. But yeah, coconut water is the best.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, there you go. Heard it from an expert. August, just so you know, your video is not very clear. It's possible your internet connection is a little weak. Just double check your Wi-Fi setting, maybe.
Well, I'll look. Hold on.
Whew.
I've got on my end.
Okay, maybe on my end you're not coming through us clearly, but that's okay. I'm about to go to screen share. Can someone confirm on the live stream if Dr. Dunning's video is choppy, and if mine is good and Dr. Dunning's is choppy, then it's probably a problem more of a problem on his end than my end. But if we're both equally choppy, then it's definitely my end. Yeah, we're gonna talk about how I felt. If we have time on this video, if not, I am gonna do another video tomorrow describing the whole process. But while I have Dr. Dunning here, I have actual expertise questions, not about my feelings. All right, let's go to screen share. And these are the questions I have for Dr. Dunning. But before that, every morning I show people my sleep stats from the night before. My sleep started out pretty damn good. But last night, I only got 3 hours of sleep. You can see my sleep score is 12%, which is one of my lowest ever. My recovery is 16%, which is the lowest other than that one time I had an ear infection where I slept 6-7 hours. But it was all high sleep stress. The crazy thing is my sleep stress was slightly medium, but no high sleep stress. I could not sleep last night because of the adrenaline. I was so looking forward to this morning that it made it so difficult to, I'm going to do it this way. It made it so difficult to sleep because of how hyper I was to finally, it's like Christmas morning for a kid. That's basically one of the reasons why I had trouble sleeping. But we're going to go through my stats real quick. Even though I only slept for 3 hours, I managed to crank out 2 hours and 22 minutes of restorative sleep, which is actually incredible. That's like 70% rate. And I still got an hour and 22 minutes of deep sleep and over an hour of REM sleep. So that's incredible. My light sleep was non-existent. This is why I feel good this morning. Even though I'm 3 hours of sleep, I got, I usually have a 3 hour, like I want 3 hours of restorative, but I got 2 hours, 20 minutes. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and, so those are my sleep stats. Now, let me show you the craziest picture. My weigh-in this morning, and it's in the video description, was 129.5 pounds. I started at 148.5 pounds. I lost 19 pounds. Do the math. It's probably like 7 kilo. And here's what I look like afterwards. I'm not going to take my shirt off on this video. I'll just show it to you here. This looks like Christian Bale from The Machinist, and you can't really see my chest. But look at my arms. Isn't it crazy? I lost 20 pounds, and my arms does not look like I lost any muscle in my arms. And Dr. Dunning, can you explain that?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. The difference between, let's just say, a water fast, it's actually a water diet, compared to dry fasting, is that during a dry fast, you start dehydrating. And the dehydration stimulates the hypothalamus to give these releasing factors to pituitary to let out antidiuretic hormone. The antidiuretic hormone is released because you're peeing all this water out. Let's stop that. So it goes in the bloodstream to the kidney, goes on top of the kidney to the renal medulla, which then releases epinephrine. The epinephrine then goes to the glucagon receptors on the fat cells, stimulates them to stimulate lipase to start cleaving your triglycerides into glycerol and free fatty acids. The cool thing about this is it also releases growth factors, so you protect your muscle. Because if you don't do that and you end up in a water diet, you end up having to use yourself to eat yourself, because those growth hormone factors are not released by the pituitary, and then you start cutting up muscle for ketogenic amino acids like alanine and things like that. So it's very, very hard on the body to do a water fast. It's very hard on muscle tissue. And the most important muscle is your heart. This is why I promote dry fasting. Dry fasting is the safest way to reset your metabolisms. But the point you're bringing up is, yeah, look at your muscles, Tone. You haven't lost any. And that's the deal. You've just lost fat and you're dehydrated. So you're going to reestablish your body fascial hydration. And also your DNA hydration, because the DNA is hydrated as well, by the way. That's what keeps it in a nice spiral. And but you don't lose muscle mass. And that's why. Because you've never asked your body to find food any way you want, because you don't want to go into gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is inventing new sugars from muscle tissue. So that's why you look so good. All that hydration will come back. You'll be trim and slim and back to normal. But you've done significant improvements in your physiology.
All right. Yeah, we're going to talk about some of that later. But also, there is another interview that I did with Dr. Dunning from like 3 months ago, where we talked about the benefits of dry fasting. I don't want to, redo that content. So I'll put that link in the video description. It's actually not there, but it's raining. That's okay. I'll take my chances. And I don't want to redo that content, but maybe I'll protect my keyboard. I don't want to redo that content, but I'll add the link to the video description and everything. Okay, let's go. These are the questions that I have for Dr. Dunning. So I'm going to make this bigger and maybe even bigger. Yeah, here we go. Let me get rid of this thing. Here we go. I'm breaking it with coconut water as Dr. Dunning. I did dilute it a little bit just now. I diluted the coconut water a bit. Damn it.
Is it raining?
Yeah, it's raining. Shit. I need to move the show indoors. Sorry.
That's fine.
Sorry, guys.
message is for Leroy Duddy. Scott calling from East Florida Institute. You're going to play with Monday with Dr. Frankel. Dr. Frankel not the end, so we were calling to reschedule you to either Dr. Diskin that day or to another day with Dr. Frankel. Go ahead and do this call back at 772-287-9000.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Floor is yours to talk about the benefits of dry fasting while I move everything inside.
You want me to talk about dry fasting for the folks?
Yeah. Yes. Just talk about the benefits while I move everything indoors.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The thing about dry fasting is different from all other types of fasting is it removes all the glycogen from the system over a couple of days. And that's this penalty. That's the only penalty you really have to pay because you need to get rid of the glycogen to reduce the digestive enzymes to the point where all these switches are turned on. In fact, you're turning switches off to turn new switches on. And the benefits are really amazing. You lose weight, of course. You know, you lose weight initially during the first couple of days, then you start losing 100% fat weight. And that's great because you also relieve your fat cells of all metabolic toxins, the agricultural toxins, and all these stuff you've been exposed to during that time period. And it gets flushed into the extracellular matrix outside the cells. That makes that matrix pretty toxic to things like parasites. That stuff goes into the lymphatic system, goes into your bowel, and that makes the bowel toxic. So the parasites are removed. The parasites have been telling you to eat things you don't want to eat because you need to eat things to help them. So you've got this around telling you to do the wrong thing for your health. That it gets eliminated during a dry fast. The other thing that dry fasting does is it starts rewiring your nervous system because it's under repair as well. And you'll notice differences in sleep, sleeping well, sleeping deeply, waking up all the time because your brain wired. But I think the most important thing about dry fasting is the fact that it actually stimulates the release of stem cells because when kinase A goes down to a certain level, then your stem cells turn on. You're not eating anything, so your somatic cells can't replicate. You're not eating anything, so your stem cells can't replicate. But during that activation phase, it starts going into a part of generation called interphase. Interphase is when the DNA inside your cell unzips, and is exposed, and then your PARP enzymes can go in there. Your enzymes can go in there, repair any damage to your genetically perfect stem cells, which you need to repopulate cells. So the cells get released on day 3. Mus-AT cells get released. They go through the vascular system, start repairing the vascular wall and the vascular system. And your other stem cells are being repaired in preparation for after the fast. So when you do refeed, stem cells have been basically cleaned up and corrected. Then they go into massive regeneration. Infusion of stem cells in all 220 niches. And that's really interesting because if you go out of it and you have some bone marrow taken out of your pelvis and you end up having those bone marrow regenerated and grown in a lab and then re-injected in, it's only the stem cells that are being regenerated, not all the other stem cells. So the thing about dry fasting that's really unique is you get a free cell infusion of all your cells, not just specific regions. And it's amazing because what it does, almost everything it can't do, is it restores your physical body. You need to maintain body mass. That's why old people get weak and frail. They seem to drift away into the distance. They've never generated their stem cells to replace the somatic cells and they die off, or the senescent cells that are dying off all as well. So what dry fasting does, it actually keeps stable. It keeps body mass stable. It keeps your stem cells replaced and replacing all these burnout somatic cells. So when you think about dry fasting as a therapy, patients use it usually all big diseases. That was the point of this. If you end up with these intractable diseases that medical science can't fix, the Russians dry fast their patients, fixes everything. I had this happen to myself. I lost my sense of smell. It came back in 3 days in a dry stuff. So when you think about dry fasting, as a therapy, it's really the most profound one because it really restores your body and your metabolism, your brain, your heart, your organs, all that kind of stuff. That's the big benefit about dry fasting.
All right, perfect. Do you have anything else to say, or we're gonna go on with the scheduled program?
Yeah, let's go through the list and see what you got.
Okay. Now, you suggested coconut water is one of the best ways to break it. Water with electrolytes is okay. Focusing on potassium. Potassium. Now, had I been, back at one of my home bases, I would have had a whole bag of potassium. Now, I read somewhere that breaking the fast with sodium is not ideal. So keep sodium to a minimum.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, because I said people take just a 6 or 8 ounce glass of water, a teaspoon of baking soda there and sip that down because you want to take yourself out of ketosis. You want to get back. What that does is if you start drinking water without the sodium, because the sodium is necessary for the aquaporins on the cell surfaces to allow water into the cells. It a matrix, it causes edema, you get in the legs and stuff. So prevent the edema, I suggest a little bit of baking soda to bring yourself back into a normal pH and also provide the sodium that allows your body to the cells.
Gotcha. Okay, so also, how much water should I drink? So I'm drinking like a sip every 5 to 10 minutes. I am breaking this very, very slowly. I'm not going to pound this entire glass of coconut water. This is my electrolyte water mix. I'm going to alternate sips. I'm going to take the sip of the electrolyte water. I'm making them like medium-sized sips. Wow. Man, my body missed water. Holy shit.
Is dehydrated state, and you have a fascial matrix, all these proteins, all that goo that holds all this stuff together, that hydrated. So yeah, you do that slowly. Your body is saying, "Oh my God, let's get it in there." You're doing it. It's fine. Just sip it a little fast. The more you understand your own, what it can absorb in a certain amount of time. But the safest way to do initial dry fast, like what you've done, is to just sip it slowly. You got plenty of time. Rehydrating your entire body, not just your gut, but all everything, because the body is actually this huge protein series of sacs that hydrated. Your muscles are inside protein sacs connected on bones. It's like you have this whole system, and you got 27 into the fascial matrix. This is kind of why I dry fast, because you can take baths, you can soak in baths and that kind of stuff, and that keeps you hydrated. It also helps fascia hydrated so that you can flush the lymphatic system out better. There's two camps on this. You can do a hard dry fast, which I just did over Christmas. Soft dry fast, you can take some showers and baths and stuff. You still can't take anything down the alimentary tract. You got to just keep that digestive tract clean, no water. But it's just personal preference after point. But yeah, sip slowly, get that hydration back. Your body will distribute all that stuff to where it's needed first, and it'll fill it up, and you'll be fine that way. But if you overdrink too fast, you're risk edema and all kinds of swelling. And again, if that happens, just get some salt, sodium chloride, and mix that in and drink that. That'll also cure the edema part. Remember, I was over in Vietnam a few months or years ago, rather, and I had edema. I was drinking water, and all of a sudden I was having all this edema, and talking to my partner on the internet, and she goes, "Well, why don't you just do some sodium? And you know how to do this." Yeah, into water and drink that. The edema went away. Fine, because you need the sodium to allow your body to hydrate the cells as well, not just the area around the cells.
All right, gotcha. Also, someone in the comments is asking, why did I, let me grab the coconut. why did I drink the water from a mature coconut instead of a young coconut? Well, it's easier for me to buy these around here. I also didn't have a machete to crack into a young coconut, and they don't really sell you whole. I mean, they could sell me whole young coconuts. I love the coconut water from the mature coconuts. It's so much like sweeter and juicier. Your thoughts on young coconut versus mature coconut?
Well, I was down in Punta Cana, and they would chop the green coconuts with a machete on the beach. Drink that. That's fine. It's not as sweet as a mature coconut. Natural sweetness that comes from everything that's mature properly. But I like both. I mean, that's the only difference. It's just a matter of.
But not a problem with me going with a mature coconut.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, great. Good to know. And good to know for the questionnaire. Okay. How much water does one drink to exit the fast? I'm taking small sips every 5 minutes. That's basically my plan throughout this entire podcast. I'll be taking a sip approximately every 5 minutes. Now,
that's fine.
I have, go ahead. So that's a good way to exit.
I drink a store and get a quart of coconut water. I sip at least a quart of coconut water.
Oh no! I got 3 more of these. I got 3 more, Doc. I got 3 more of these in the fridge, and the store is only a 5-minute drive away.
All right. Well, remember, you have to rehydrate your entire body, and you've lost about 5 of water weight in the first couple. Yeah. So you can weigh that if you want. If you want to do a measurement like that, or just drink a quart of coconut water. Drink water, hydrate yourself, and you'll start. Tell you when it's happy.
Yeah, no, I'll be hydrating all day. I'm just gonna do it very, very slowly and meticulously. Okay. Next question. I have bone broth brewing, slow cooking on the stove. And I can share my bone broth recipe. I'll say my bone broth recipe. I put in garlic cloves. I put in 1 onion, just sliced twice, like 4 ways, so that there's big chunks of onion. That's in the water. I use for this, I mean, my pot isn't huge. I'm using 2 shin bones, like the bones for ossobuco, for those that like to eat ossobuco. 2 shin bones with a little bit of bone marrow in the middle. And I have 1 bone marrow bone in there as well. Now, normally I put a lot of salt and peppercorns and a bay leaf. I read that pepper is not something that should be entering my body, so I did not put any peppercorns. There is a little bit of salt, but I can always salt it when I pour it into my little bowl. And when can I drink that bone broth?
Actually, in a couple of hours when you're better, just take a few sips, see if it's good for you. But I like the idea you put the garlic and the onions in. It's sulfur, and you need sulfur to make sulfated cholesterol to actually let your blood flow better. That's a good move.
Now, I don't plan to eat any of the onions, and I don't plan to eat any of the garlic. I'm just gonna drink the bone broth only. If a little bit of bone. Right. If a little bit of bone marrow, like soft bone marrow, sneaks in, that's fine. I just swallow that.
That's
now, the next question. When in my normal life, when I make bone broth, I make my bone broth the same exact way. Sometimes I add a big knuckle bone for extra collagen. So it's a shin bone, a knuckle bone, like a knee, like a cow knee, and a couple of bone marrow pieces, like bones with the bone marrow. That's how I make my bone broth. But here's how I eat my bone broth. I obviously pull out all the bone marrow, throw away all the bones, throw away the meat, throw away the onion. Garlic is already super soft. It usually just rips apart. And there is some pepper, salt, and a bay leaf goes in the garbage. When I transfer whatever I'm eating, because I make enough bone broth for like 8 days, or like 8 soup bowls, basically. When I pour, like scoop it out into a smaller pot for that one meal. I warm it up 5 minutes before I take it off the stove and pour it into my eating bowl. I add maybe 100 grams of beef liver in small pieces so that it cooks for only 5 minutes. And then 2 minutes before I take it off the stove to pour it into my bowl, I add 2 to 5, depending on how I feel, egg yolks. Only the egg yolk. I get rid of the egg white. I throw the egg yolk in there so that the outside of the egg yolk cooks a little bit and the inside stays totally liquid. And then I would scoop that up with a spoon, just put it in my mouth, and then just like pop it in my mouth and just swallow the whole thing. And the other thing I put into my bone broth when I eat it is I chop up an avocado into small pieces the same size as the liver, and I let that warm up in the water as well. That is the Tone Vase perfect bone broth meal. 2 questions. When can I have this meal? Like, do you think this meal is, to me, this is the most nutritious meal a human can eat in a soup bowl. And when do you think I can have my favorite, most nutritious meal?
As soon as you're ready for it, the way you've described it. You've done a couple of things that a lot of people don't even know about. If you have really good organic beef liver, you're going to get copper. You're going to get retinol. If you've added the egg yolks, you're going to get retinol. Copper and retinol make a protein called ceruloplasmin. This is absolutely essential for drawing out iron loaded into cells, because without ceruloplasmin, the cells load up with iron, and that's what's aging us. My next book is all about this. So what you've done is actually a fantastic way to improve the bone broth with improving the copper and retinol content, because you need both of those.
Awesome. Thank you. I've been doing this for years. It's just I consider avocado, egg yolks, and liver the top 3 most nutritionally dense foods there is. And combining that with bone marrow and bone broth, I just couldn't think of a more nutritious meal in the world.
Well, yeah, you also get all the B vitamins too. So, it's a really great idea. And I got to tell you, Tone, for 135 years old, you look pretty good.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so we answered the liver part. So I'm gonna do the egg yolks and avocado tonight, and I'll probably save the liver for tomorrow morning's breakfast.
Yeah, just eat a little bit. Make sure it's not done, because I think your viewers need to understand that you've just regenerated your entire gastrointestinal tract. All the cells are brand new cells, and they're like a baby's. So you got to be really gentle with them to reintroduce the digestive system actions and metabolism. So you're doing the right thing. But again, sipping and just sipping a little bit, introducing liquid foods and infusions is a perfect do it. And then around day 2 or 3, you can start incorporating solid foods and stuff. You got to stay away from the hard to digest proteins and that sort of stuff.
Thanks, Doctor. I was getting a call. Ironically, I'm getting a call from someone that live streams every day who should have known better to check if I'm live streaming. Okay. Now, I was going to comment on one of your comments earlier when you said, the next time you do this, it will be easier. I am so not looking forward to doing this ever again, but I know I'm going to have to do it.
Well, here's what everybody that's dry fasted may have that effect after they get done with the dry fast, but then later your body has learned that you know how to do this, and it'll tell you when it wants to do it again. You will feel this thing. I need to do something. I need to do something about something. And dry fasting is it. I suggest 5-day dry fasts, 1 year. It's really easier to go through these things in the 7 or 8 days. And besides that, you can take baths and stuff to make it easier, but you still have most of the benefits as long as you do at least a 5-day dry fast. But once you do these, your body has felt what you've done and it will seek it again.
Would a 5-day dry fast activate stem cells as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. Total side question. I wasn't sure. I have 2 math degrees, but I wasn't sure on the math. Let me explain. I ate my last meal Wednesday at 6 p.m. and I had my last sip of water Wednesday around 8 p.m. It would have been earlier, but I wanted to have my last sip of water on my first live stream documenting the dry fast. Just like I had my first sip of water on this stream, so I delayed the start of my fast by like an hour, just in order to have a last sip of water on camera. Now, that very first night of sleep, Wednesday night, that was my normal night of sleep. That was my everyday night. There was nothing special about that night because I ate and drank at 6 p.m. and then I went to bed at my normal hour and it was my normal night. Does that night count as one of the 7 nights? Because to me, that wasn't a fasted night. And that is why I did my dry fast 180 hours, 179 if you want to, be very, very picky, but 180-hour fast total instead of the 168. I wanted to get that 8th night, which was 7th fasted night. What do you think about the math on this? And is the way I did it maybe more optimal versus having my first sip of water last night at 8 p.m. before bed, because I made it 168 hours? Your thoughts?
Actually, you did just fine. And in fact, we dry fast every night. You don't eat or drink while you sleep. That's it. With the dry fasting is to get rid of the glycogen so you can activate the stem cells and all that kind of stuff. But the bigger point is going into a deep state of autophagic processes, macro, micro, and chaperone mediated, happen every night. Unfortunately, the chaperone system, which is a ubiquination system where bad proteins are plugged with a little tag and then they're dragged over to a proteasome to grind up into antigen amino acids. That only happens at the very end of our normal sleep period, so we never really get that benefit. But if you keep that going day after day after day after day, you get rid of the fluoridated chemicals, the forever chemicals, all the mRNA and all the stuff that's been injected in people, all that stuff gets taken out, can ground up and deneutralized that way. It just denatured that way. So yeah, you're already in a dry fast as soon as you stop eating and drinking. You get into the autophagic states in that first night, but the chaperone-mediated autophagy is left on because you're not eating or drinking. And people that get up in the morning and they eat and drink, they just get rid of that. They don't even have the best phase of autophagy to clean out all the stuff inside the cells. That's the bigger benefit of dry fasting, is you actually stay in the autophagic state longer. You can get rid of all these big buildup in the cells, folded proteins, broken proteins, all that ends up as this junk inside the lysosomes. You get rid of that. That's one of the best things about dry fasting, because you clean out the garbage. You finally take the trash out.
Yeah, Doc, people are asking if you could unplug and replug your router. You are having a little bit of an internet issue. If it's not a problem, it will take you like a minute to come back to stream, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'll go reset and see if that helps. Hold on.
Yeah, you're coming a little choppy. All right, guys. Hope you're enjoying this conversation. I don't know how long this conversation goes, but man, I got all day. I am so happy I get to sip on water and coconut water. This is absolutely awesome. I gotta mentally force myself to drink this so slowly. I just want to drink all of this in 3 seconds, like that like the beer guy, like that would just pound the whole beer in 3 seconds. But I gotta drink it really slowly. I don't really want to drink anything too cold. Just taking it easy. Well, you're still online, so you didn't cut out all the way, but hey, hopefully it'll reset.
All right. Well, as it's reset, how's it on your end?
We'll power through it. I am recording this. I also have all the answers to these questions from Dr. Dunning. Also, I have a good memory, so I'm remembering everything he's saying. And he also typed out I sent him these questions yesterday evening, and then since I couldn't sleep all night, I'm checking my email at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And he replied to every single question. I'm like, holy shit, that was just an outline to talk about like someone that takes their job very, very seriously. Okay, really, really important question. Today is Thursday, 8 in the morning, 8 in the morning, my time. I'm 1 hour behind you. It is 1 hour later where you are, August. When can I have my first bite of a ribeye? I actually skipped the question, but I'll get back to that. So on Saturday, so today's Thursday. Tomorrow, I'm also going to take it easy on the food. I will be at a restaurant tomorrow night playing some poker with friends, and the restaurant has oxtail on the menu. Now, oxtail is a very slow cooked beef. So it would be if they prepare it correctly, it would be very, very mushy, very, very soft. I'm not worried about eating some oxtail. But the following day on Saturday, I want to have a barbecue for my friends. And I was going to cook some ribeye, medium rare is how I like it. So on the third day, second half of the day, is my body ready to digest a steak? And the answer could be yes, but a very small steak.
Well, I think yes, but with a cat, you need to masticate that meat really, really well. You need to grind it up as much.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that word. Oh, sorry, Doc. I'm not.
Chew your food.
Okay.
Yeah, and that way you chew it up very finely, so your body, your stomach has an easier job of breaking it all the way down.
Okay, perfect. So yes on third day, but chew a lot. Okay, got it.
Say that.
Now,
chew your food.
Yeah, well, you're supposed to do that anyway, but none of us do.
Yeah.
Now, let's back up to our question. Another thing I do in that bone broth is before I eat it, I like to cut a lime or a lemon in half and squeeze the juice of a lime or a lemon into that bone broth. I think you said try to stay away from citrus fruits for a while. What is that while?
Well, what I mean is on the first day, because you're trying to get out of ketosis, and those are acidic foods. So you want to avoid those on the first day or two. Mostly it's day. You want to get your body back to pH 7 and get it out of, bring it up so they have just a normal pH. So yeah, basically the citrus thing is just as you end the fast, don't end with orange juice or lemon juice or stuff. Wait a day, and then you can add those things, no problem.
Okay, so I'll wait till day 3 to introduce citrus fruit like lemon, lime.
Or 2.
I'm gonna really stay on the caution side. I don't have a problem. It's not like my body is earning to eat a lemon like that. Yeah. I can wait.
Good.
Okay. One of the things that I added into my diet recently in order to help put on all that muscle is sweet potato. Here's my sweet potato recipe, just like I did with the bone broth. The toned base. I'm gonna open a restaurant, by the way, probably here in Roatan. Just a 2-hour flight for you. I gotta get you over here. My restaurant. When I opened, it's beautiful here. When I opened the restaurant, it would be seed oil free and gluten free. It will say that on the menu, and like artificial sugar free. Like there'll be no sugar added to foods. Maybe there'll be a little stevia added. It depends on the chef. Only natural sugars from real food. Now, here's my sweet potato recipe. I prefer purple sweet potatoes, but they're very hard to find other than Sprouts. So I go with regular red sweet potato. I boil them until they're soft, like a fork would go right through it. I boil them to soft. I then cut off the ends because I just don't like the ends, but I leave the skin on, transfer them to a bowl with the skin. I mash them, and here's what I put in that mashed potato. I put butter, a decent amount. I put heavy whipping cream, like heavy cream. When I don't have heavy cream, half and half, or milk if I have to. If I had raw milk, it would be raw milk, ideally. I'll put a little bit of milk or heavy cream, butter, and crushed garlic into the potato. And then also cayenne pepper. And my favorite salt is Redmond's Real Salt. That is the tone vase mashed sweet potato with skin on. Any suggestions to the recipe? And when can I have this? And maybe I shouldn't put certain things in, like dairy.
No, I think you're really onto something. The only thing I would maybe substitute is natural sea salt compared to that Redmond pink salt, because there's iron in that pink salt. We've chemical analysis on that stuff.
Oh, interesting.
But because iron loading, I go into my next book, is a thing we have to deal with. And I'll go into other why that is. But the point is, I use the kind of soft sea salts, because you get all the nutrient minerals in the ocean, and a lot of magnesium. That's good stuff. And I think it's safer for people to eat that. We've been eating that for years. That's the kind of salt that they pay the Roman soldiers in. Barium, salt, salaries. And so yeah, that's the only thing I'd make change your recipe, but everything else is good. I think it's absolutely essential.
Okay.
But it's essential to have resistant starches that go into your, because the resistant starches, they can't digest in the stomach. They end up going into the bowel, and your gut bacteria need those butyrate and acetone, which are short chain fatty acids, which are really critical for your enterocytes, so they can have the necessary their mitochondria. Yeah, and also the protein thing. I just want to bring this up to your readers. Studies that say if you eat at least 50 to 53 protein by a caloric intake, you end up getting a little bit of protein down into the gut, and the gut bacteria can use that to stimulate cells on the surface of your gut wall. Those goblet cells secrete mucus. The mucus layer in between the enterocytes and the body protects the enterocytes from the bacteria. It's a mucus layer you need to make sure you maintain in your distal bowel, your lower gut intestines. And that's really important. And you need protein, you need at least half in your diet daily, because what breaks down is go for the lower bowel, because it's very hypoxic down there. Nutrients have mostly been used. So you kind of feed your gut bacteria, and the resistant starches, mashed potatoes, your mashed sweet potatoes, perfect. But more protein than normal people eat is essential as well for gut health.
Guys, we already tried turning Dr. Dunning's Wi-Fi on and off. It didn't help, but if I can understand them, you guys can understand them as well. And I will type out all the answers to those questions. We will figure it out. I'm also downloading this just in case, but if I can understand them, you have to be able to understand them. Okay, so in the video description, I listed all the salts that I personally approve. I do have Redmond's as number one, but I will check that micro mineral profile, and maybe I'll lower it. I do have Celtic salt as number 2, but Celtic salt is very expensive. That's that French fancy salt. That's going to hit your budget. What are your thoughts on the Himalayan pink salt, assuming verified organic authenticity? Because I know 80% of it is fake Chinese shit.
Well, my basic feeling is this. I avoid anything with a lot of. There's another thing I talk about in my Return to Youth book, and that is blood donation. If you want to get rid of excess iron, just donate blood, because then your body is forced new red blood cells. Those new red blood cells draw from that labile iron pool to create the hemoglobin to make cells. So you can teach the cells out of your tissue by actually blood donation. I donate blood 4 times a year now because I want to be able to, what I think is the aging effect. I think we age because of excess iron.
I wish I could go back outside, but I really don't want to spend 5 minutes moving my gear again. So I'll just give you guys a little bit of a view in the corner there to how gorgeous it is out there. Okay. Okay. This is just a video description. I know you don't see all of it, but it doesn't matter. This is in the video description. And the other salts I recommend are, besides the 3 I just listed, are Baja Gold. I think that's down in Southern California or Mexico. Maldon, which is an English salt, and Murray River, which is an Australian salt. These are all salts very high in micro minerals. Oh, there it is. Baja Gold.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I use
all right,
that.
so Dr. Duncan is a fan of Baja Gold.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, let's get back to the questions. Where's my document? Okay. Oh, actually, before I forget, we do have a couple of viewer questions. Are you concerned about the oxalates in sweet potato?
Really, oxalates will build up in the kidneys at kidney stones, but book, A Philosophy of Time Travel, it gives you a recipe for how to have a kidney flush using lemon juice, and you can grind those things down that way. I believe that you're going to find after this dry fast, when you evacuate and start collecting you're going to find sediment in your urine because you're finally clean your kidneys out, and you should be able to get a lot of really orange colored weird goo coming out in your bowel from your bowel. And we're having that tested, by the way. That might be the way the body is able to get rid of excess iron as well. We're testing it, we're sending off a sample.
You're talking about urine, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, because when people say bowel, they're not specific which end.
Okay, yeah.
We're talking about urine, right?
Well, yeah. There's a kind of a brownish sediment that is very common to come out in the urine after an 8-day dry fast. These longer dry fasts, you're also going to poop out a bunch of orange gooey stuff, and because it's orange,
that did not happen to me. I only want, not that this should, hope no one's eating. I only had one trip for a number 2 to the toilet on day 5, and it was very little, normal and little. But I'm mostly carnivore plus sweet potato plus some fruit. So I only sit on a toilet like twice a week, maybe 3 times at most. And I know a lot of high quality, respected functional medicine practitioners think you should be sitting on a toilet at least every day or with every meal. But for me, it's like every 4th meal, every 5th meal.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it's there, so you're going to have stuff come out of you that's going to shock you. I guarantee it.
We're going to find out. By the way, also, I had a doctor come to the villa this morning at 6 in the morning to pick up my urine sample. So I wasn't collecting my urine in jars like you recommend in your book. I'm also on a little tiny island. The resources here are very thin. And I'm like, look, I'm just going to I want to give you a urine sample. I literally like filled it this morning, and so yesterday was my last day, and here's my peeing schedule, guys. I So not this past night, but the night before, I did pee in the middle of the night. But also the last 3 nights, I spent so much time awake. Like hell, it's a lot easier to fall asleep when you're not trying to hold your pee in. I did pee in the middle of the night, and then I peed again yesterday at like 3 in the afternoon. And then the next time I peed was this morning at around 5 a.m. 5 a.m. I peed into the cup. I put it in the fridge to keep it cold. And then the doctor picked it up this morning at like 6:30, and it's being analyzed today. And I told them to make sure the lab knows it's human pee because they might be confused.
Okay, I think what you might want to do is today, okay, urinate in a jar or something and just let it settle and see what comes out. You can good urine samples just a little bit, but today collect your urine and see what happens, because after the fast is over and your body is in this expulsion state because you're rehydrating, a lot of stuff's going to come out of the kidneys, a lot of stuff's going to come out in the from your anus, and you're not the planet, but you know what I'm talking about. And and you're going to find things you did not think were inside of you.
Wow. All right. I'll keep an eye on that, I guess. All right. One more question from the same viewer. Allulose. Sure. I'm not that familiar with allulose. If you have any comments on allulose, fire away.
Allulose. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, me neither. Sorry. Not on the allulose track. Now, another friend of mine that actually came out here to try to do the dry fast as well. Huge fan of your work. Read the book after I sent it to him. He has some health issues, so he wanted to see how this would help. And also, it was great having someone here in case I get in trouble, right? Like it's a little scary doing a 7-day dry fast, especially for the first time, just by yourself in a villa, right? Because if something goes wrong, no one's going to know. So it was great that I had somebody here. So shout out to my friend Dave, who flew in from the UK and took a break from family time to do it. His family thinks he's crazy, but he came out and did it. But here's the problem. Please ask Dr. Dunning about, he couldn't do the whole 7. He finished after day 5. But one of the reasons is because on the flight here, he picked up a bug. He got a little sick. So he arrived and we were going to start the dry fast. So he arrived for a day. We actually went out for like one small beer. My first beer in 6 months. Potentially regret it. And then the next day we had 3 meals, all protein rich. And then the next day we started the fast. He could only last 5 days, but on that second day, he was coughing, sneezing, runny nose, because he picked up a virus on the plane. I did not get sick at all, which is freaking surprising, because we were, it's a big villa we have, but so I've been next to him the whole time for 10 days. I did not get sick, but he was sick throughout the whole 5-day dry fast, and he was having a very hard time. So you see the comment right there. And here is an updated comment: sneezing, headache, cough, blocked runny nose. His sleep was terrible from day 1. My sleep was good until day 5. Day 5 and night 5, 9, 6, my sleep started to deteriorate. And then last night I almost had 0, but I didn't care. So what are your thoughts on him pushing through the 5-day dry fast while sick?
I would tend to get over those things before I dry fasted. I mean, did he feel better after the dry fast?
He felt way better after the dry fast, but I don't think it was because of the dry fast. He felt better because he was going to feel better regardless, because, these viruses only last about a week.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I found out long ago that the thing about viral infections, it really knocks you down. It knocks you down to the point where you don't want to do specific things that actually reduce the effects. One of which is wash your bedding, wash your pillowcases, wash your sheets, wash your towels every day, because you don't want to re-inoculate that virus and keep that going. Your body has to get rid of these things fast. It takes about 8 days to read the code to produce the antibodies. But if you can keep yourself clean, you're not re-inoculating yourself. That effect is way reduced. So, that old saying, cleanliness is next to godliness kind of thing. It really does work when it comes to being, but it's so hard to do that when you're not feeling well, you're not have the energy to even get up and get the stuff in the washing machine. But that's just a trick for your view that. You're not
right. That's a great. Sorry, I said that's
also,
a great.
Yeah, and the other thing, he had that. You don't even see symptoms for a couple of days when you get inoculated. That's the tricky thing about these viruses. So, he was already in it before there, and then he was experiencing all the effects of that while he was there. But if he feels good now, it probably helped him, because generally what happens during a dry fast is your body goes up and down in temperature, and the higher the temperature, the more the virus and bacteria get killed off. That's why your body has a fever. It's to kill the infections. So it probably benefits to a great degree. Uncomfortable.
Bitcoin Capital. Yeah. Oh, Bitcoin Capital, that's a great question, but we're going to talk about that at the end, because I want to talk to Dr. Dunning about how I should be implementing shorter dry fasts throughout the entire year. So we will get to that question. Now, on the sheets part, for me, who I was not sick and I was doing the 7-day dry fast, do you still recommend washing the sheets like maybe every other day, like while you're doing this kind of fast? Is that a good habit?
Shedding all sorts of stuff from your cells, your sebaceous cells and your skin cells, they're evacuating stuff all the time. So that helps, just clean yourself up and stay clean. If it's not necessary, I generally don't do that. I usually end up at the end of the fast washing my bedding and stuff. But
yeah, I'll do laundry today.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We covered that. Okay, so the sweet potato, let's finish that up. So 2 questions on that sweet potato. When should I do it? Day 3 is okay? When I have that steak?
Yeah, day 2. And you can introduce that, early on, because it's a very soft food, and it absolutely helps your biome in a way that people don't really think about it. Best, you've reduced your biome. You've gotten rid of a lot of bad biome, the gram-negative, which are coated with polysaccharides, which then when they die off, it really hurts the enterocytes inside your gut wall. So yeah, I would be eating some sweet potato and that kind of stuff, early on, day 2, 3, whatever.
Okay, great. And what about the dairy in the sweet potato? I know I have a question later on. Thoughts on dairy? I really want to cut out all dairy from my life. Cheese is just too tasty. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm trying to cut out the cheese, and I'm trying to cut out the milk, but I know how healthy unpasteurized milk is, but I always go back and forth. I never drink conventional milk unless I'm adding it to my mashed sweet potato. And when I get a coffee, I usually either get it just black American or I get a cappuccino, and I do ask for cream when they have it, but they usually don't. So it's conventional milk, but I do like cappuccinos. But I also only drink coffee like once a week. It's not like I'm addicted to coffee every day. And only for social occasions when I'm out for a cup of coffee with a person. And heavy cream, I'm more okay with. But what are your thoughts on dairy in general? And should I make this particular sweet potato batch without the heavy cream?
No, I don't worry about that. It's not enough. I don't suggest drinking cups and glass of milk all day long by any means. But yeah, look here and there in your latte and your cappuccino, to soften your Americanos, that kind of stuff. Yeah, no problem. We also have found there's a new type of milk on the market, from A2 cows. These are Jersey cows instead of the regular dairy cows that are usually done in America and stuff. And those are much much better for the biome. The breakdown of proteins it doesn't hurt our gut as much. It's the A2 milk is something we've gone to.
Yeah, but it's still pasteurized, right? So that's still an issue.
Yeah, it's really hard to find unpasteurized. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad, who was also a doctor, to a dairy farm, and the guy had just milked his cows, and it was a huge vat of milk. And he says, "Here, taste some." And it tasted great. It tastes different than the pasteurized because it had all the life still in it.
Oh,
it tastes really hard to find.
It tastes completely different. Completely different. I have the advantage. Yeah. I spent the summer at my cabin in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania sells raw milk everywhere. When it comes to Florida, you have to go to a farmer's market. And in New York, maybe I shouldn't say it on camera, there are companies that will sneakily leave the milk at 3 o'clock in the morning on your porch in a brown paper bag. So literally like doing a drug deal. But there are services that will deliver like in the middle of the night raw milk for you.
Yeah, you know, and gets into something that I actually talk about in my next book is the military industrial medical complex. There's really schools, not the doctors. The doctors can only doctor what, but there seems to be a concerted effort within the teach you the wrong thing to do for your patients because it makes a lot of money because it provides a lot of opportunity to treat symptoms with very expensive chemical inventions. So that's what we're kind of up against. You know, it's, but I really don't appreciate control commerce like that.
Right. Okay. By the way, one more thing on my sweet potato recipe that I detailed earlier. After I make the sweet potato, yes, I'm gonna have some when it's fresh, but then I immediately, once it cools down, I put it in the freezer because put it in the freezer creates more resistant starch. In fact, each time you refreeze your sweet potato, you make it more and more resistant. So every time I make this big batch of sweet potato, just so I can freeze it and refreeze it. And every time I take it out of the fridge and I defrost the big batch, I take a chunk, I put it on my frying pan, on the stove, and I heat it up. But I very carefully heat it up. I heat it up on very slow heat, and I don't let it get too hot. Because if you let your frozen sweet potato get very, very hot, you are now negating the freezing benefit of creating extra resistance in the starch. So you want to heat it up to warm and then eat it. Did I get that right?
You got that just right.
Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna move up because I missed 2 questions. I saw the answers. So you don't recommend kombucha for at least 3 to 4 days because it's too acidic, and obviously I hate the added sugar. I'm trying to find a no sugar added kombucha, no added sugar. But man, some of them taste so good, especially the ginger ones. And I'm dying to have one for some reason. So I'll have one on day 3 or 4.
For the ginger. The ginger is great for us. It's fantastic.
So that's accurate, right? Wait about 3 days.
Yeah, I'd give it a break. Just get your body back to normal pH and balance that stuff quickly.
And what about fruit? I'm telling you, like last night when I couldn't sleep, all I wanted was a kiwi and some raspberries. One of my cheats, one of my favorite things to snack on after my meal. I eat my fruit last because of the sugar content. Raspberries and kiwis. They're my absolute favorite fruits. We're not counting avocado because avocado is fat. There's no sugar. But as far as sugary fruit, raspberries and kiwis. When can I have one?
And that's easy to eat stuff. It's a good source of fructose. Fructose is good for at certain amounts. It encourages iron deposition, excessive amounts. But yeah, that's fine. Those are great. Those are, kiwis are noted for help repair genetics. The anthocyanins in the raspberries are. I used to raise black raspberries, not blackberries. Black raspberry, and those are the highest content berry on the planet, but they're very hard to find now. Almost no one grows them because when they introduced the red raspberry can produce on the black raspberry. So they raise them together, which basically they just stopped raising the black raspberries, which is the.
Oh man, I remember when I was a little kid back in Russia, we had wild raspberries. They were absolutely amazing. Have you ever had wild raspberries?
Oh, I have. Yeah. Raise them. I used to have these in the Midwest. There was this huge fields of raspberries on pine forests and stuff. And the heck out of those things. Blackberries, Bristols, Cumberlands. Fantastic. My favorite food in the world, black raspberries for some reason.
I got to try to find some. I actually didn't know about black raspberries. I'll be on a hunt for those. But on a while, because I remember them as a kid back in Russia when I was 6, 7 years old. We used to just because they liked the cold environment for some reason, like in the spring or the fall. And we used to pick them all the time. And then last year, I was hanging out at a friend's cabin in Minnesota. It was in September, and there was wild raspberries growing. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't seen one of these in 40 years. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it.
I was up in Vancouver Island. I was putting up a factory for a company I was doing some work for. And I walk over to the shop in the morning to get a bagel. And I was walking one day and I looked at these bushes. And, wait a minute. Those are raspberry bushes. Huge bushes. They're 8 feet tall, huge hedge of this stuff. And I'd bag of fresh raspberries every morning on my way back to do the work. It was great,
man. Someone is saying jaggery is good for sweetness. I have no idea what jaggery is, but maybe you do.
Never heard of it. Never heard.
No idea either. Okay. Yep. I'll try and Google that later if I remember. Remind me, this is coming from one of my moderators, so he'll remind me later. Okay. I just talked about the refrigeration of the potatoes. Really poor connection. Cold potatoes have better healthy starches. I can't eat cold potatoes. I am going to warm them up a little bit. Molten salt is the best. That's the English one. To each their own, but it is a good salt. Okay, let's get back to my questions, and I'll go through your comments after. Okay, covered dairy. So I'm going to stay away from cheese for a while. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm trying to cut back on cheese regardless of fasting or not fasting.
The hard cheeses are really good because they have spermidine, which is, these cheese, Parmesan cheese, all that kind of stuff from Italy. Really great cheeses. The soft cheeses, I like a little brie every now and then, but the hard cheeses are really good for you.
Gotcha. All right, thoughts on, I don't eat vegetables anyway, so it doesn't matter. Thoughts on fermented vegetables and things like kimchi?
Actually, we beet kraut, sauerkraut made with beets, because it's for one thing. We have this philosophy that over the 4 million years that we're evolving on this planet, that we eat everything to survive all these different droughts and stuff. And I think it's actually keys our genetics in a lot of ways that we don't recognize. So it's important to eat what I call an apex omnivore diet. We eat anything. We're supposed to eat anything because we've had to eat everything and we've evolved in being. So I think it's to eat a little vegetable matter, not a lot. You don't want to be a rabbit. But vegetable matter, green stuff, a lot of berries, phenols, that you would find in the woods as a human running around trying to find food 80 or 90,000 years ago. So that's going to be when they're in season. Berries when they're in season, because nature gives you enough of this stuff at the right time of year to feed you properly. And that's kind of where I go with eating. Meats, that stuff, animal products, good stuff. I don't generally eat anything in bags. I mean, the Conquiso weird dips and stuff in jars. I try to keep it as natural as possible, but there's lots of food from that that's really delicious. But it's funny, it's really available only certain times of the year. I think there's a process of life on this planet as other things mature and ripen. You can't eat them when they're not ripe. You can't eat them when you can. So there's my eating program. I'm not strict carnivore. I'm a modified carnivore because I eat starches and stuff. I also eat some salads every now. My partner and I have gone back to eating salads days now because we've noticed that too much meat it leaves a lot of the minerals out, minerals you need, and a lot of those minerals are in food. But the problem with the food supply is demineralized soils that end up with food that's being. So we have to eat organic. We have to eat agriculture products, and it's tougher these days because of the way it's been, manufactured. But yeah, I just stay away from the highly processed stuff. Stay away from this concentrated seed oils. Eat nuts; they're fine. Brazil nuts, especially. You need 3 Brazil nuts every day to get the selenium for your thyroid to work. So there's just little things, little nuances. I talk about it in my books, but that's really the only thing. Highly processed foods, concentrated seed oils, and bag stuff. Avoid it if you can.
Right. I did actually a whole video on it. It was, I think, part 5 in the series, where I talked about nutrition and what not to eat and what to eat. Mm-hmm. And my hierarchy of human health, number 1, eliminate the bad shit that you eat. That is my priority 1, is eliminating the bad stuff. Eliminate the seed oils, eliminate the refined sugar, eliminate the carbohydrates, eliminate the bad stuff, eliminate anything processed, eliminate all additives, anything on a package that has an additive. Try to only eat 1 ingredient things, or something that only has a combination of 1 ingredient things. That's it. And that's my priority 1. My priority 2 is good sleep. And then after that, movement and exercise. And only after that, focus on eating the right food. Like I keep trying to drill it into people. Eliminating the top 10 things you shouldn't eat is 1,000 times more important than eating the best 10 things in the world. What you eat actually becomes almost irrelevant once you eliminate the 10 worst things you can put in your mouth.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine, Joe McCullough, Dr. Joe McCullough, brought this whole seed oil problem to the forefront, because what these concentrated seed oils actually contain are polyunsaturated fatty acids, broken chains and stuff. They make very brains in cells, especially in like the mitochondria. Protons can leak out of the mitochondria and reduce the amount of ATP you make. They also end up being incorporated into your cell wall. And if you're iron loaded, this is the thing I talk about in my next book. The iron loading is the problem, because iron is a pro-oxidant. It produces reactive oxygen species, and in cellular death by ferroptosis, what happens is the oxidative byproducts of the iron inside the broken polyunsaturated fatty acids can start like a brush fire and just kill the cell. These things are toxic. And the other thing your viewers might want to consider, where they get their olive oil from. There's a real
God, no. I spent 20 minutes explaining that you're almost better off not eating olive oil unless you can absolutely guarantee the source.
Well, yeah, and in fact, here's the way you think about it. guy named Dr. Gundry put out this really expensive, and I said, okay, I'll buy some of that, and I tasted it, and then I tasted regular olive oil from like Sicily, and it didn't taste the same at all, because what Gundry does is he gets his olive oils from Morocco and Tunisia, very dry climates, which direct polyphenols to best in the olive, and you can taste the difference. And so I buy my olive oils that are based from Tunisia. Tunisia is a really interesting place because it's dry, it produces the right polyphenols, but even that, it's about maybe a tablespoon. That's about it. You don't guzzle this stuff, but those particular ones are heart healthy.
My concern is I don't eat olive oil because I guarantee the freshness. So I would, if I lived in Italy, if I lived near Tunisia, like here's what I want from my olive oil. I want to see the date that the olive was picked off the tree. I want to see the date that olive was converted into olive oil and bottled. Yeah. And then I know the date that I purchased the bottle. That combination, I want the time between picking the olive and bottling it in a proper glass, non-see-through bottle. I want that to be about a week, no more than a week. A good olive oil producer will do this within a few days of a turnaround. Every day an olive spends off the tree, it starts to go bad. Now, also the pits must be removed in pressing that olive oil. Oh, yeah. And that olive oil needs to be in my house within a month of bottling it. And I need to finish that bottle within the first 3 to 4 months of me getting it. So this is why
here's something I do
to get good olive oil.
Well, I don't buy it in cans. You don't want the light to oxidize the oils. That's the problem with these things in bottles, shelf for God knows how long. And but if it's
how do you get it? Does he ship? Does he ship directly to you, or is this something you can buy at a store?
Oh, I can buy it at Sprouts. A great Tunisian canned olive oil.
Oh, excellent! If you can DM me later, or what's the name? I'll just show it on the screen for the view.
Hold on, I'll get my bottle. Hold on.
Awesome. Hey guys, I do see your questions. I am gonna ask your questions. I'm gonna look for the Tunisian olive oil.
Here it is.
I cannot read that. Can you read the name, please?
What is that? This is Madhava, organic virgin olive oil, and a product of.
I don't see it on Google, but those of you that have a Sprouts near them can go and look for it. I would still want to see all those dates that I mentioned listed on the bottle, like the inception date, but I don't see it.
That's the point. Usually you're not going to find that, and that's why I use it in the can. Years ago, before it be really a huge product, you used to get Italian olive oil in cans, and now I think the only safe way to do it, certified organic like this stuff, is in a can. Because it doesn't oxidize. The light gets in, starts affecting the oils, and if you can't get light, it doesn't affect the oil. So I think it's probably a longer freshness deal.
Okay, cool.
Like you say, if you're going to get it in a bottle, you better have an inception date on there somewhere.
Right, and if you are going to get it in a bottle, it better be like one of these black bottles, something like this. That should be the color of the bottle.
It's not bad.
And glass, not plastic. If that's glass, I hope that's glass. Okay, we are moving on, and like I promised, I will get to your questions. Okay, what are some of the worst things a person can eat in the first 2 days after finishing a dry fast or drink.
Oh God, protein smoothies, that kind of weird stuff. You want to really, really just keep it to hydration for
No solid food that needs your stomach to process. I'm assuming no sugar, nothing. This is why I was scared to drink the coconut water, because of the sugar. I am staying away from all carbs and all gluten for at least a week, maybe 2. Sweet potato becomes the only exception. I will not touch anything. I'm trying to only eat the healthiest things: eggs, avocados, bone broth. I'll eat some sweet potato. That's almost it. I'm gonna be so careful. I'm gonna eat meat. I'm gonna eat my steaks. I'm gonna be so careful by not putting anything artificial into my body. I'm a little concerned on what sauce the restaurant will have with my oxtail when I order it. But if it doesn't look right to me or taste right to me, I will let somebody else eat it instead.
Right. Well, you got to remember your gastrointestinal, the cells in there are being replaced every 3 or 4. They're regenerating crazy all the time anyway. So that's why this period of reintroducing food is important, because you start stressing the system a little bit to deal with the foods with the easy foods first before you start introducing the hard to digest foods. I mean, that's why I say chew your food really well, because that makes it easier for your stomach to do that.
Okay. Now let's talk about supplements. So before we talk about your supplements, I have a few supplements of my own. Yesterday's video talked about supplements. I forgot to be very adamant about the supplement source, guys. I know I talked about it on prior videos, but just because you have so Dr. Dunning, here is my, I guess, here's what I'm preaching on supplements. Only supplement for deficiencies that you have evaluated on yourself. So I only supplement for my deficiencies. As I identify another deficiency, I supplement only for that deficiency. One of my deficiencies is I am a double variant for MTHFR, which means I cannot methylate B vitamins. And somehow, I've done well for my 45 years on this planet. And I started a methylated B vitamin supplement. I found the best company, Thorne, which I've identified as high quality. If you have identified, and now I'm talking to my audience, if you have identified a deficiency and you must supplement for that deficiency, if you are buying your supplements at Costco, you are possibly causing more harm than good. If you're buying them at Walmart, I know you are causing more harm than good. You need to go out and find the best quality brand for that specific supplement. And I don't care if it costs double what you could buy at Costco. If you are supplementing with a shitty quality supplement, you are making your body worse. So make sure you identify the source of the vitamin. You agree?
Oh, absolutely. We use Thorne now. A couple other ones. We get them off of iHerb.com. Good company to find stuff, because you can also read the customer testimonials on the reaction to these supplements. One thing we know for sure we need is magnesium. There are about 3,000 different processes use magnesium. Magnesium is necessary for ATP to get out of the mitochondria to use it as an energy source. MATP, they call it. So we know during you're using a lot of whatever magnesium you have to stay alive, make ATP, and operate the systems. Magnesium is extremely important to reintroduce dry fast, like 200 to milligrams at least of magnesium, 200 or 300 to 400 milligrams of potassium. You're going to get enough sodium in the sodium bicarbonate. Those two, potassium, they have to be supplemented after a dry fast, or find in foods like milk, I suppose, that can provide. That's really my biggest issue. If you have some metabolic issue like yourself, you have to be very careful. But generally, everybody needs magnesium. Now, what's interesting is our hemoglobin is the same porphyrin ring with an ion that chlorophyll is, a porphyrin ring with a magnesium in it. So eating green vegetables is really important to do that. Certain ones are better, too much spinach, too much oxalic acid, but probably not. So you need to eat the greens every now and then for the magnesium. Not a lot of magnesium in carnivore diet.
Is there a specific type of magnesium you recommend? For example, in my electrolyte mix, I'm using 100 grams of magnesium glycinate.
Yeah, magnesium bisglycinate is the best. It's the most absorbable. You get, great source of magnesium.
Glycinate or bisglycinate? That's different.
Yeah, well, it's magnesium bisglycinate is the ones we buy.
So you buy magnesium. Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. So you buy magnesium bisglycinate, not glycinate.
Yeah, hold on. Hold on, the one we use. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Here's the magnesium.
Wait, hold on. Wait. I want to put you on the big screen.
Okay.
Magnesium. Yeah, you're using magnesium bisglycinate. Okay, I will give magnesium bisglycinate another look.
Good.
I was thinking of creating a different combination of electrolytes specifically for the evening. See, this is my morning one, but I was gonna switch a couple of things. Also, I'm debating if I should leave calcium in. On my blood work, my calcium comes in a little bit high, and I'm not sure it's all that necessary. But here are my proportions. In one daily serving with my scoop, I'm getting 600 milligrams potassium, 400 milligrams of sodium, and I use 3 different salts, Redmond's, Celtic, and Himalayan pink. I combine them. I get 400 milligrams of that, but I put Redmond's on everything else I eat. Maybe I'll switch to Celtic. Celtic's expensive, guys. I can afford it, but I know not everybody can. I'm putting 100 milligrams of magnesium glycinate, but I will look into biglycinate. I'm using calcium citrate. I'm going to review this, and this might be eliminated. And I'm also putting in zinc and manganese. Well, for manganese, I'm using manganese biglycinate. These things are so hard to buy in pure form. It literally took me 2 days to find some of this shit on Amazon, and you don't really have a lot of choices. And good luck Googling for manganese. Everyone thinks you're misspelling magnesium. So every time you search for manganese, all you find is magnesium.
Yeah, that's the smart, the smart era we're in.
Yeah. God, I hate AI. I hate AI with a passion. It has never. For the questions that I try to research, it has never given me the correct answer. It wasn't even close to giving me the correct answer on anything I've researched. Like if I need to do some basic math, it'll get it right. But I was trying to figure out how to write an Excel formula to calculate my free testosterone from total testosterone. I tried 3 different AIs. I spent all day. I had them advanced mode. I had them research like 8 different papers, and they still got the math wrong. I had to do it myself. The math took me about 3 days to figure out because of the complication of the formulas. But God, AI is so fucking bad. I can't shout from the rooftops loud enough. And people are getting dumber by trusting AI, especially with their medical information.
Let me bring up one word, Skynet.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to love their robots. Boy, oh boy.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on because I needed to make my own electrolyte mix because every electrolyte on the market has some additives for preservatives, for some stevia, and it was driving me nuts. I wanted just pure form. Well, like I can handle it. Well, like, yeah, it's gonna taste a little chalky, a little salty, but so what?
Are you with a dude who's also a vet called Joel Wallach?
I am not.
Longevity. Yeah, Longevity Products puts a product out called Tangy Tangy, really a great electrolyte mix and stuff. Wallach is.
I'm sorry. Can you say the name again?
Longevity. Ivety. Longevity. It's like longevity, but it's just longevity. And yeah, I trust.
Got it.
Yeah, I trust his approach to all this better than anyone else. First, actually, he was the guy.
Yeah. I'm sorry. He was the guy. What? He was the guy on what?
He used to watch called Wild Kingdom with Marlon Perkins, and he was the vet that was analyzing all the animals and stuff on the Wild Kingdom shows, the elephants and giraffes and dogs and cats and all this stuff, because he had a veterinary degree first. And he noticed that things were going on in the veterinary arena that were not being done to humans. So then he became an MD doctor, and he was able to go to fields. So we need the same things that the animals need too. We're restricted from a lot of the stuff that the animals get to solve their problem, and without the things that they're bad, like copper, then we end up getting sick, which ends up throwing us into this web of symptomatic medicine, relief of symptoms that never cause the problems. And Wallach was one of the first guys that ever got that sorted out. So yeah, Joel Wallach, search him on the internet. Longevity Products, totally am behind his work.
All right, I will take a look at it. But just in general, do you like the mix that I did for my morning electrolyte mix?
Oh yeah, sounds great.
Okay, yeah, I may play around with this, and I may create a morning and evening version. The evening version would be more focused on sleep, and the morning version would be more focused on cognitive activity.
Sure.
Okay, so now we're back to the questions. On the supplements, obviously the electrolytes I've already started. How much time should I wait before starting to eat B vitamins? I'm gonna wait till probably Wednesday till I eat that steak to have B. You're supposed to eat this with food and fat, and also creatine. How long should I wait before putting creatine back into my daily morning water stack and this methylated B vitamin? And I also take Shilajit. That's the only other addition.
Right. I think with creatine, I've heard so many mixed opinions on this. I heard of Dr. William Davis wrote the book Wheat Belly. And he's really into microbiome and the microbiome and microbiotic stuff. And he's saying that creatine really not much. I scoop in my bone broth with collagen peptides every morning, just because, maybe it will. A lot of bodybuilders use creatine because it builds muscle and stuff. So I'm not fully sold on it yet, but I still use it. So creatine is a good product. And here's this creatine I use by Thorne.
I use Thorne. Yeah, it's exactly. Yep, I can bring you. It's exactly what I use. Yep, that's the same thing I use. Perfect. So I honestly thought that the research on creatine was settled, and using more than 5 grams a day starts to penetrate your blood-brain barrier and tries to help your cognitive mentality. Some people do 20, 25 grams a day. I do 10 grams a day, but when I have deficient sleep or I'm not well rested and I need a meeting in the morning, I will go to 20 grams. But it's rare. Yeah. I've only done that like twice.
Well, I think the older we get, the more we need it. I mean, if you're probably not a big demand for that, but the older we get, it's probably a good idea. That's, you know, it's weird the way they judge things. They don't judge it by age. And we see all sorts of things happen over time as we age that, you know, it is as you get older.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about your supplement. So again, in the video description, guys, I have a link to Dr. Dunning's supplement brand. You've been getting some criticism for this online, I know. But because some people think that Fisetin, now there are better alternatives that do the same thing as Fisetin, but they do it better. So that's one of the things that people have been talking about. Now, these three, so I'm done with my Fisetin. I finished that right before the dry fast began. And I am now going to start these three. I have them with me. I am going to do them. What is the protocol? When should I start them? And how should I take it? And how long should I be on these?
Yeah, about a lot of these things. Let's talk about the polyphenol plus incorporates what was been known about microdosing. In other words, you'll notice there's resveratrol in that mix. Resveratrol activates a smell of things like curcumin to have it act like a large dose. So that's why we do it that way. It protects your mitochondria, your in the nervous system, and so forth. That's great because it helps rebuild and protect your mental activities. The stem cell regen, a product we developed of a research study that found that if you add these particular ingredients individually, they do nothing. But synergistically, they can improve regeneration of blood system products by about 70%. So about 2 or 3 days into the recovery, start taking the stem cell regen stuff. We use at this point, you get as much as you like. Usually a week is probably enough. Same thing with the polyphenol. It's great, you know, about once a week.
Really? Well, once a week,
use it as a way.
Sorry, once a week, not every day, because on the bottles it says 2 capsules for 30 servings.
Yeah, you can. Like I said, you can use it as much like, or just use it periodically to make the bottle last longer. Because it,
okay, so you don't have to take this every day.
No, you don't.
Okay, but when I take it, but if let's say I'm going to take it, let's say I'm going to take these 2 or 3 times a week. Do I still take 2 capsules of each, or do I take more?
Yeah. No, that's fine.
And should I take them together, or should I take them on different days, or it doesn't matter at all?
No, it doesn't matter. You know, you want to split them up, morning, one in the evening, that kind of thing.
And should I take them with water on empty stomach, or with my food?
Well, generally, because it has resveratrol, you should need to take it with a healthy fat. Because if you take resveratrol with water, it denatures it. It's in minutes. It has to be absorbed.
Well, I don't have any oils, but my meals are pretty fatty. It's usually meat and eggs and avocado.
I take it with butter. I just take the pill, eat some butter, swallow it down. Makes it easy then.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So a little bit of water to swallow the pill and just bite into a butter stick.
That or just swallow with butter. I mean, they're soft. You should be able to swallow with butter. You know? Yeah.
All right. Got it. Okay, cool. And all of these two, they have just natural ingredients.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about resveratrol.
Resveratrol is an interesting compound. It's antifibrotic. Fibrosis is reduced with resveratrol. But the thing about resveratrol is it's conjugated when you eat it. Some's in the bloodstream, some conjugated with glucuronidine, and it goes into the lower bowel. Bacteria break that bond, and the bacteria get a dose, or enterocytes in the intestinal wall get a dose of resveratrol. That's cool about that. A pill, the dose of resveratrol, you get about 3 days of improved NAD production. NAD is what activates your tuins, your demethylation and deacetylation chemicals. So once every 3 or 4 days is great. You get this effect, getting resveratrol into the bloodstream, getting resveratrol into the bowel, and you get the effect of NAD being at a higher level, like 3 days. So that's great. You don't want to take it too often because, like I said, it's an antifibrotic, and you need your in between your your cells and stuff. So you don't want to restrict that too much, but you want the benefits of the production, because NAD is what gets reduced over time as we age. So anything that helps that is fine. So resveratrol dose every 4 days, something like that is fine. Again, that's just what we now understood about these particular nutraceuticals.
And so when should I start these? Like after 2 days? Like today's Thursday.
Yeah,
start Saturday?
Day 2. Day 2 or 3.
Start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And creatine I can start tomorrow as well.
Sure.
Same with Thorn, right? The vitamin B. Now you mentioned NAD plus.
Yeah.
I have these with me, but I haven't yet decided if I'm actually gonna do it. And they were expensive, and now I am having second thoughts. I didn't talk about these on my supplement. Let me do this. I didn't talk about these on my supplement video, but this is a high quality company called Ageless Human, high quality. I have raw NMN, and I have raw NAD plus and raw NMN. I was considering also adding these into my supplement stack, maybe in a few weeks. What are your thoughts on, besides resveratrol, which helps, wrong bottle, besides resveratrol that helps you create NAD plus, NMN also helps create NAD plus, and I also have actual NAD plus. These are powders, and I think you put it just under your tongue. You don't even mix them with water. What are your thoughts on NMN and NAD plus powders? They are of very high quality.
Well, that's fine. I'm sure. Tryptophan is the precursor to all that. Bananas have tryptophan. So a banana a day might keep the doctor away, and because you have to have the precursor molecule to have the molecules that the precursor you would normally make. So it will probably help you, but you might consider it every day.
So bananas are not part of my daily stack, bananas is not on my is not on a Tone approved fruit list because of the starch and because of the if it was a wild banana. So there was a huge difference between wild bananas and versus conventional banana.
I haven't analyzed plants yet. Plantains are very, very popular alternative bananas. And but that actually, I'm looking into that. That's an interesting idea. Now, I don't worry about the bananas. There's a start.
So I want to show people the difference. This right here is a wild banana. They look like this. If you're in the Philippines, if you're in Southeast Asia, that's what you're gonna see. That's that's a wild banana. This is a conventional banana. I do not touch conventional bananas, but when I see wild bananas, I'm a lot more enthusiastic about it. But
now, just as an example, a regular that long and a wild banana is about this long. Okay, they're little bananas. They're really interesting. They're tastier too, by the way.
Okay, I'll see if I can add wild bananas into the Tone-based fruit approved list. Speaking of fruit, what are your thoughts on mangoes and pineapples. I really like those fruits, but I go back and forth whether I should or shouldn't be eating them.
Well, mangoes, they're really delicious. They're a good fiber. You don't want to eat too many of them because they've got a lot of content in them. Fructose in particular,
Right.
which is, like I said. Pineapples are great too. They help you with digestive enzyme. So it's, it's like eat, running around the jungle. They're not going to find bottles of supplements. They're going to find food. So it's back to the old caveman era to think about your food healthy than what they've been, promoted as best stuff these days.
Well, while that is true, 99% of all the fruits and vegetables we eat 1,000 years ago didn't exist, right? That's the other issue. Like the watermelons, the pineapples. I mean, they barely existed at all. And if they existed, they were not sweet at all. They were in completely different form. This is all crossbreeding. Tomatoes didn't exist. Most vegetables didn't exist. So this is where you do have to be careful. And this is where the carnivore diet has a point.
And by the same token, you can get all these other foods that should be raised. You can find seeds for them and grow those as well, like the buckthorns and stuff. Great source of vitamin C's and stuff, natural vitamin C. There are vine plants. There's a lot of stuff that have been flushed down the toilet for this huge agriculture monster. And you got to look into those things. Raise your own food.
All right, we got. Are you okay on time? We've gone almost 2 hours. If you're, and would you like to tell our audience how old you are, Dr. Dunning?
I'm 74. I'll be 65 in July.
And you just did a 7-day dry fast a week ago.
Yeah, over Christmas. Over the winter solstice, jiving up in there on purpose. I would just, why not?
Also, guys, before I forget, Dr. Dunning in April will be heading to Observer Ranch in Colorado, where he will be hosting a 7-day dry fast, overseeing people doing the 7-day dry, 5-day. Okay, 5-day. I was texting with Ben Davidson yesterday. Actually, he's very proud that I was able to do the 7 days, and there you are. So, guys, go ahead and reserve your spot. Unfortunately, it is very unlikely I would make it. I have my own event in Las Vegas on the 27th, and on the 24th, I'll already be preparing. So I have to be in Las Vegas. I will not be here for this. I will be here 2 weeks later. I'm coming for the May 15th event at Observer Ranch. But if you want to try a 5-day dry fast with August Dunning himself, go ahead and reserve your spot at Observer Ranch, 2 hours south of Denver in Colorado. Okay. And but don't go into this fast cold turkey. You need to practice a 24-hour one. Then you need to practice a week later or 2 weeks later. You need to practice a 48-hour one. And then maybe a month after that, you need to practice a 3-day one. And then if you can complete 3-day dry fast, you can then take on 5. You don't need to practice 4. So, oh, shoot, I had another call.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay. Hold on. Okay. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Let me just interject for a second. Yeah. The benefit of the short dry fasts, one, when you decide, maybe try this, you might want to just go without a day of eating or drinking. Prove to yourself you can do it. What you might want to do is do a 2-day dry fast to see what I talk about. In other words, you're going to get to the point where you're going to run out of hours. Then you can eat if you want, that's fine. If you do a 3-day dry fast, after you've done a 2-day, you'll notice, okay, well, I'm running out of energy again. Then you see a big increase in energy again because you've tapped into your fat cells. It proves to you what you can actually do and what you're capable of. Because, I don't doctoring. What I do is I show people how to heal themselves. There's an old saying, God heals and doctors take the fee, because it's so true. And Hippocrates, which I am a doctor, what Hippocrates says was sometimes the best remedy is to do nothing. And that's really what dry fasting is. You let yourself. And once you understand that you have this capability that you can actually fix yourself, then boy, that changes the whole architecture, what you want to spend your money on. And you end up healing yourself. Don't get me wrong. I love doctors. My dad was a doctor. If I had something catastrophic injury or trauma, I'd go to a doctor to get my cut, sewed back together. I'd go to a doctor if my bone was broken. I wouldn't do a Hippocratic method, although there are examples where animals have been damaged, like in Filonov's case, where his dog was hit by a car, and the dog just went into a week and just didn't eat or drink, walked back out just fine. I don't suggest that for people with catastrophic injuries, but I do think that what you'll find is with specific doctors can do very, very good work. They're very good at that. They're not very good at diagnosing and curing actual illnesses. That fasting thing comes in. And this is why dry fasting was developed in Russia. There are these intractable conditions and illnesses like 4th stage cancer. They would dry fast these patients for 11 days. And if it didn't cure it they'd give it a month and do it another 11 days. And usually all this, because cancer is an irritation in the cell causing the cells to go bad, and you got to get rid of the stuff causing the irritation. And that's what dry fasting does. There's two that you need to understand. The first thing you should always do if you don't feel right or don't feel well or something wrong, do a dry fast. It's not invasive. It's easy to perform. And if you get my book, The Phoenix Protocol, you'll know why and how to do it safely. But if it doesn't cure anything, if they have anything to offer, but 9 times out of 10, the dry fast will probably fix the problem.
All right, awesome. Thank you for the info. All right, we're gonna try to speed it up a little bit. I will need to go in 25 minutes. Now, the next question I had was about exercise, and also someone from the live stream was asking the same thing. What's your position on... Oh, no, wait, sorry, that's a wrong question. But before we get there, what's your position on germ theory versus terrain theory? I'm not familiar with terrain theory. I don't know if you are.
Germ theory is basically from the Fleckner report, which drove the whole industry into this idea to fix these germs and stuff. Hippocratic medicine, where you have a situation in the body that needs to be dealt with in a different ways. Not killing germs, it's using body systems to actually heal yourself. Like we've healed for hundreds of thousands of years before doctors showed up. It's just a different philosophy. You can take infection and it's out of control, get the amoxicillin. I use it, but when you do that, you have to reestablish your gut bacteria because they're biotics and your microbiotics, and the antibiotics may kill the infection, but it'll really reduce your microbiome to reestablish that. So yogurts and kefirs and things like that to get that back after you treat yourself with an antibiotic. Again, let's go into exercise real quick. Exercise during a dry fast is unadvised. I mean, lifting weights and all that kind of stuff.
Right. That was the question.
Yeah, you need to walk. Or use a mini trampoline to do bouncing, because when you bounce, you go from 0 gravity to twice, and it pumps the lymphatic system to clean out the place in between the cells. Your lymphatic system designed to direct the things being in the lymphatic system, processed into the nodes, and deposited into the valve to the the venous system, and that's the way you get. You need to move around during a dry fast, because during a dry fast, you're basically pumping all this stuff out of the cells, and it's really when it happens. It's called living water. Your ATP production produces water all the time, and in a dry fast, you're not taking any water in. So all this living water, like a mandala, all this living water gets flowed to the cell because it's a positive pressure. Then it gets flushed to the extracellular matrix. Now, this is where those soft dry fasts come in, where you're hydrating your fascia, not taking anything on the alimentary tract, but you're hydrating the fascia, and it helps the body that stuff in the lymphatic system. So walking, bouncing, maybe a little skip rope if you want to, but you've got to be able to move that around, because you're
ask. I don't have a little trampoline, like a little tiny one. By the way, I learned about it in your second book, the Neogenesis book. It was fascinating. Yep. You said that it's almost a mandatory exercise for astronauts when they come back from their mission, in order to get their bone density back, using those little silly trampolines. But I have a jump rope. Is a jump rope exercise doing the same thing?
You know, you're jumping up, you're out of gravity for a second, and you hit it down. But that impact is kind of hard on the bursa. You know, the trampoline idea is very gentle on the bursa and the joints and the connections between the joints. So it's way less damaging. If you on the downstroke, if you flex your body on the downstroke, you pump more out, and it's release upstroke. So you're like, it's like a really interesting effect.
Also, speaking of your books, Amazon doesn't sell your Philosophy of Time Travel book. How does someone buy it?
Actually, it does. You just look for August Dunning book. Yeah.
I maybe it's me. 1 second. Let's double check.
All right. It's a great book because it's a good kind of notebook. It kind of covers all the ideas that I have.
So, by the way, guys, all these links are in the video description. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. Scroll down or just ask for Philosophy.
No, but when I click on your name, only 2 books come up.
Huh. Well, Neogenesis.
That one doesn't show up.
Actually,
is this you or not?
Yeah, that's my newest one. Yeah, One Flew Into the Cuckoo's Nest. If you want to know what's going on in the world and who's doing this thing to us all, read that book. It's a funny little story. It's a cute little description of all this stuff hidden within the storyline. I think you'll probably enjoy it. But do a search on a philosophy of time travel, not a philosophy of time travel, August Dunning. Should come up because people now. Let's scroll down.
Doesn't come up for me, so that's why I said I was struggling to find it.
No, because I've tracked my book sales on Kindle. It's selling, so it's in there somewhere. A Philosophy of Time Travel, August Books.
Anyway, we'll move on because we are short on time. And here's another question that I missed, which is a good question. Does dry fasting help with high blood pressure?
Blood pressure during a dry fast because you're trying to flush out the capillary beds.
I had low. I had very low. I had low. Just so you know, I had low blood pressure. So I went to the doctor on day 6 and day 7. And both times my blood pressure, it wasn't like dangerously low, but it was on the low side.
Yeah, your body, through these blood pressure issues during a dry fast on your body, is dealing with certain conditions, certain organs, and it's very normal to go up and down in blood pressure during a dry fast.
Okay, we talked about exercise. Speaking of exercise, when do you think I can get back into the gym? Probably wait another 5 days, right?
Yeah, like at the end of a week. Here's how it works. The time in a dry is the time it actually takes to recover from a dry fast. If you've done a 7-day, it takes about 7 days to totally recover. You're going to feel like you want to go to the gym, but as soon as you get there, you're just not going to have the energy because you haven't built up the glycogen those again for the muscles to work like that. This is what you're doing in the first 2 days. You're getting all your glycogen, and glycogen is put around all these little balls and pillows inside your muscles because the muscles need to act quickly to sprint away, and they draw on glycogen for that energy. You will operate your muscles on oxidative phosphorylation, on fat, on free fatty acids, that kind of thing. But they won't have the power to really do a lot of running and jumping and stuff. Give yourself some time to build back the glycogen. And, you know, it's funny too, because a lot of people like a lot of honey, but honey has a lot of fructose. Maple syrup has a lot of glucose, is what you need to build your glycogen pellets back up with. I know Joe Mercola has a teaspoon of maple syrup every night before he goes to sleep because it helps his mitochondria in his nervous system at night, in his brain. I used to do that. I do it every now and then. But, you know, it's just a little tidbit to throw out. But, yeah, that's why you want to wait for about a week. You need to rebuild those stores of glycogen in the muscles, operate the muscles adequately without hurting yourself.
All right, let's move on. Someone asked the difference between a 5-day dry fast and a 7-day dry fast. DJ Senior answered that question, where stem cells are released on day 5, but if you can make it into day 7, you get a second stem cell release. But making it to day 7 is a challenge, guys. It really, really is. It was so easy for me to get into day 6, but man, those last 48 hours, and I went an extra 60 hours. It was tough. It was not easy. So I'm just going through your question real quick. Yeah,
well,
go ahead.
Here's the way to think about that. If you do one dry a year, like you get a really good amount of regenerative stem cell production during the recovery. If you do 5-day dry fast twice a year, it's you just maybe not have as many transit amplifying phases going on for stem cells, but you still get a flush of new stem cells to replatic cells, the attrition rate of somatic cells. So yeah, that's fine too. This last 7-day I did on purpose to collect the orange goo so I could have it to see if it's full of iron. Because if it is full of iron, then I found a new way that the body naturally does to reduce its labile iron. We don't know yet. It's going to send off to a lab in Bakersfield today to find out if that is a reasonable question. Does it have iron? Is this a way that the body flushes the iron out? You know, but generally speaking, I usually do like 2 5-days a year. It's just easier. You can do soft dry fast, you can take baths, but you still get the stem cells, you still get rid of the parasites, because you never get rid of the parasites. They always come back and get in somehow. They're in everything. So it's like get those things out every year, because you'll find that after you're dry fasting, because you've gotten rid of the parasites, you really don't want all sugary, cupcake, that stuff anymore. And it should tell you that you did not really want those. Something inside you is telling you those. So it's really important to get rid of the parasite load.
Yeah, trust me, it will be way easier to do 2 5-day dry fasts in a year than 1 7 full days. I'm telling you, the last days, like if I was doing this, like if I didn't have a YouTube channel and I didn't, tell the world I'm doing it, I might have quit after the 5th day. But I needed to, tough out through it. Villa Week. Guys, go ahead.
Here's the thing, these things aren't really that difficult. They're annoying. They're brutally annoying because you get all these weird changes, but because I've done it before, I was able to go through these last couple of days pretty easily, just going, okay, this will be over soon. I know what this is all about. And and new and scary at all is part of the deal. The 7 days are fine because you go through the acidotic crises, which is not really an acidotic crisis. It's this change in pH that helps you get all this stuff. The 11 days are really tough, because the 7 days, they remove hanging fruit. the 11 days, they get way up in there and fix things. And that's why the Russians use 11 days under medical supervision, by the way, to take patients through these to get hard diseases. Just a thing to the wise. 5 days are great. You can do a couple of 5 days every year, and you can do a 7 day if you want to tough it out and really get the orange goo out, that kind of stuff, and the sediment from the urine. Yeah, that's great too. 5 day hard dry fast, the first dry fast I ever did, because I had lost my sense of smell. I was the solvents from that hot blue pipe deep cement in a very poorly ventilated area, and I couldn't smell anything. And food doesn't taste good at all. It was horrible, for instance. And I did everything for 3 years. I tried all this stuff. I took all these rinses, all these medicines, all this stuff. No, and then I read about Filanoff's work, and my partner brought this to me and said, you should try this. And I said, well, what have I got to lose? So I went ahead and 7 day dry fast first time out of the box. On day 3, my sense of smell came back, which epithelial sensory neurons in my nose were regenerating. It's not supposed to happen, but it did on a dry fast because I'm generating my stem cell, Mus-AT cells, which are pluripotent. They can differentiate into any kind of cell in the body. We're regenerating my sense of smell. Other things happened. A viral infection in my urine, which made it smell like burnt popcorn, gone. All this stuff was fixed in a 7 day hard dry fast. And I was sold. That's when I wrote the book. That's when I wanted to share this with everybody.
All right. Thank you so much for those comments. I did forget something in the document from above. When do you think it's okay for people to resume their peptide injections or their TRT injections, testosterone replacement therapy?
Probably after the recovery period.
So wait about 4 to 5 days?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, if you're on track, your HRT stuff, like for women, for instance, yeah, you stick with that schedule because otherwise you won't sleep.
Speaking of women, how safe is it for women to do this advanced dry fast, and which time of the month is best? I heard it's the worst time of the month for women to do a dry fast is the week before their period, but it's one of the best times to do their dry fast during their period. So like maybe start on the 2nd or 3rd day of your period, and that's supposed to be the best time to fast, but I don't know about dry fast. And I don't know if Filanoff has opinions on this or you have your own.
Well, I personally think that you need to get rid of, through menstruation first. And then maybe a week after that, go into that, because that's a real hard draw on the body during that period. All the things that happen during a period, the mood swings and all that stuff, you don't want to introduce that into a dry from that first before you go into it. Also,
gotcha, probably because it's dry, because it's the water fasts that are recommended, while women are on their period, but water fasts are very different.
Yeah, because it's not a fast, it's a diet. It's a water diet. Oh, wait. It doesn't turn on everything.
Yeah, water diet. Speaking of blood, I went for a blood draw yesterday. That was not easy. My blood did not want to move. He had to use both of my veins in order to get 3 vials of blood. So between 2 veins, and one of them looks like I'm a drug addict right now. It's got, like, you guys can't see it because of the light, but it looks like there was serious damage to my vein, because it just looks like that. My vein is fine, only because the blood just doesn't want to come out. So he took 30 milliliters. So it was 3 vials, 1 small for the blood cell counts, white and red, and then 2 more vials for my glucose, kidney function, liver function, and I wanted my electrolyte numbers for sodium, calcium, magnesium. So altogether, he drew 30 milliliters from both, from like this arm could only give him like 12, this arm only gave him like
Yeah.
12 milliliters, and he was able to get like 18 from my right arm where it happened to be going better. So altogether 30 milliliters, and it was a struggle to get 30 milliliters of blood out of my body.
Yeah, because in a dry fast, you dehydrates. The blood solids build up, which is the signal for the pituitary and hypothalamus to run this chemistry. So yeah, you're a bro, Don.
It's all for science. All for science. Yeah, I'm going to be very interested in the results. Okay, let's move on. I may jump to. Well, okay. So one more question on the dry fast. From what I'm seeing online, Dr. Filanov has recently been promoting the hard dry fast version over you can take showers and let the water penetrate your skin. By the way, also for science, right before we went on air, I went down to the beach, which is just 5 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, and I laid in the ocean up to my neck for 5 to 10 minutes. And I really thought it would reabsorb some water. But when I got back to the villa and I put myself back on the scale, it did not add any weight. So I thought I thought it would add like maybe up to a pound, maybe like a quarter of a kilo, half a kilo, just by laying in the water. But I was surprised that it did not. Are you surprised as well?
Not really. I mean, because it takes a real length of time to rehydrate your body. Filanov is probably treating patients for diseases, which is why it's much more effective to do a hard dry. But we've repurposed this for a longevity treatment. We don't do one dry fast. We do yearly dry fast. We like stem cell reproduction and regeneration so that we can get rid of the bad senescent cells and replace them with stem cells, because a lot of these stem cells are telomerase. Telomerase is the enzyme that recodes the telomere tips on the genes so they can keep replicating. So if your old somatic cells, which are eroding because they don't have telomerase, with cells that do have telomerase, they're going to last a lot longer. So my idea with this therapy, using dry fasting and the other things we talk about, is to regenerate your body with your stem cells. Your stem cells have been there from your embryonic development. They are your embryonic cells. They've been distributed through your body to be able to repair anything that happens to you in those areas as it happens, because it's the stem cells that regenerate the tissue. Somatic cells just replace tissue in place, but they don't repair the tissue that much, only by regenerating. And each one of the somatic cells has all kinds of damage that's passed on to them. And so some of the proteins aren't made, some of the things aren't done correctly. Stem cells are different. Stem cells are able to regenerate and replace somatic cells that can actually recode the telomeres so they don't die off as fast or at all. Because depending on what age you are, like I'm 74, they've been inside me for 74 years. They're not going anywhere. They're not dying off. If you don't regenerate them, they might, though, because they're like any other cells. They can oxidize. So you want to be able to get in there and open them up, fix them, regenerate them, and put them back to bed and wait for the next time. If you never do that, you'll have stem cell, what they call stem cell burnout. It's from lack of use. It's from lack of regeneration. You can't treat your stem cells like your normal cell. They have to go into interphase, be able to be repaired to get back to where they were as an embryonic cell to be able to help you heal yourself. This is where I think dry fast is presented in the anti-aging longevity arena. It actually reproduces new cells that have a longer life than their normal somatic cells.
All right. Thanks for that info, Doc. Okay. Moving on. I am looking at your comments. trying to get through all of them as well, along with my own questions. So real quick, I know this will be hard to do real quick. Oh yeah, wait, I'm sorry. We went back to so in your last dry fast, you did the hard version, no showering, no brushing your teeth. That's also what I did, no showering, no brushing your teeth. Do you now believe that is the slightly more superior version if you can handle it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, if you really want to flush this stuff out, really want to get rid of these things, the hard ones are better. But again, it's good to do a hard one and then just follow up with soft ones. Again, the Russians are probably treating disease. They're not using it as a longevity tool. I've repurposed dry fasting as a way to live a lot longer. And so far it's working. I mean, my last DNH test years and years ago, put my age at like 66, like 68 or something like that. And I'm going to do it again real soon here. So I've got my DNH test to check it again to see if demethylated my body and have a younger biological age compared to my chronological age. So there's that part. This is the iron thing, which is going to be the next book. Is by blood donation, you can relieve the amount of iron in the cell acting as the agent's aging. And my theory is if you can remove those with enough blood donations, that you might be able to back up your body to a younger age, repair all the kind of damage that it can't do now because there's just too much iron to repair all the damage it's doing at the same time. And that really breaks. The dry fasting is the first step. You've got to dry fast because you've got to regenerate your stem cells. Get rid of the parasites and that stuff. But blood is going to turn out to be, I think, the longevity tool to be able to get back to a specific age you want to be at. And then with a couple of blood donations, every 3 years you do 3 donations, every 2 year donations, you offset the amount of accumulation by the reduction from the donation, and you may be able to stay the age you want for as long as you want. My theory is, and that's what I'm working on. But
yep, you're jumping on the next questions. Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. Okay. So I was going to ask you about iron and copper, but I may have to bring you on another show where we dive deep into iron, copper, and iodine. When is your next book coming out? I can't wait for that book because I know your next book is going to focus on iodine, it's going to focus on iron, it's going to focus on copper, and it's going to focus on other potential deficiencies that people should check themselves for, like vitamin D and vitamin C. Would you like to list any other, potential things besides iron, copper, iodine, vitamin D, vitamin C? I would add zinc. Anything else that a person really needs to go and find out their levels of?
Well, like I said, the next going to be a real eye-opener for all the reasons. I'm just waiting for the results of this orange goo testing to come back so I can plug that in, because I make in the book that if the body has a natural way to regenerate itself, maybe that orange goo stuff is the way the body has over millennia been able to get rid of that stuff and live longer. But because it's never coordinated in a program, we end up just aging. And so I think I need to have that in the book, because there could be a third way besides blood donation and reducing and getting your seroplasmin and all that stuff. If a way to do this, maybe that's dry fasting is helping getting rid of this excess labile iron, because that's the pro-oxidant that's probably aging. The older we get, the more is in there, the more damage it makes. It gets to the point where it exceeds the genetic capability to keep the cells safe until it just gives up. And we see it at specific times, 40 years old, 60 years old. At 44 years old, you're at half your iron load lifetime. At 60, you're 75% of your iron load over a lifetime. So, and you're associated with what happens at 40, menopause. What happens at 60? You end up with these metabolic diseases that are no cures for, that no one can fix, and you just go all the way to the end, and you just end up falling apart, rip sails in a sail ship. You know, it's a really interesting theory, but I need to find that if this is the body of removing that iron as well. I don't know yet. And the only way to do it is testing. So I'm sending it off for analytical testing, chemical mineral testing.
Gotcha. All right, just a few more.
Probably in about a month.
Go ahead.
Yeah, probably in about a month.
Yeah, I was going to ask when the book's coming out. So once the book comes out in a month, I will immediately read it, and then we'll bring you on another show to talk about the book. I will highlight my favorite parts of the book, and then we will discuss it, and we will do a deeper dive on iron and copper and iodine. Real quick, a person asked questions, but unfortunately, this is the wrong stream to ask them on. I'm going to bring up the question, but I will do more streams on this topic, and we will answer them then. When is the best time to take creatine? Sure. The best time to take creatine is throughout the entire day. If you can spread it out evenly throughout the day, that is best. But taking it all in one shot in the morning is okay. Taking creatine right after your workout is probably a little bit better. If I don't take, I only take supplements twice a day. Once first thing in the morning, and I used to take everything first thing in the morning. But now I take some things with food. If I don't take my supplements first thing in the morning or with my one meal, I used to do one meal, now I do 2 meals, I'll forget. So the best time to take your supplement is when you're not going to forget to take the supplement. That's way more important than when you're actually going to take it. And your other question, I don't know how you got only 12 minutes of REM on 7 hours of sleep. Check your monitoring. I would check my monitoring device first. I would probably buy a second monitoring device and add them at the same time. Different monitoring device, not the same company. If you have a Whoop, buy an Oura Ring. If you have an Oura Ring, buy a Whoop, Garmin watch, whatever. I would wear 2 devices and make sure, because that is insane. I slept 3 hours last night and I got an hour of REM, and I was 7-day fasted. So I think that shouldn't happen, but watch my sleep video on that. And the final question is, if someone passes out on day 7, what's the process? I don't want to get into this. You should never pass out. You should exit the dry fast a day before you feel like passing out. If you got to this stage, I have to say this is your fault. It should not happen.
Yeah, here's the other thing. If you're feeling faint, get out of the dry fast. If your body is telling you to listen to your body, because you know what? This is not the only time you want to dry fast, or the only time you can dry fast. You got plenty of time. When you start doing, you'll get used to it. It won't be so scary. Your body won't, react in certain ways. You have to get used to it. And it's like, dump out. It's not a life or death situation. If you dry fast or not, get out of the dry fast. Very simple.
All right, and we have 5 minutes to go, and I know everyone is wondering who just jumped on the stream, and just want to introduce another special guest for the last 5 minutes of the stream, and that special guest is Ahmad Ammous. And if the last name is familiar to everybody watching me, yes, that is the brother of the one and only Saifedean Ammous, who has written some of the most popular books about Bitcoin. This is Dr. Ammous, MD, who is not thrilled with the current medical profession and is currently writing a book on how the current medical field is like the fiat field that Bitcoin is going to fix. And he is one of the handful of MDs that I trust. And I had a consultation with him scheduled for 30 minutes ago, but the interview with Dr. Dunning went longer. So I requested that Dr. Ammous just join us for 5 minutes, and then we're going to wrap this up. And then I'm going to do my medical consultation with one of the few doctors I trust. And you will see on right here. Nope, that is me. Let me switch that. There it is. And if you go to his website, I will throw it into the YouTube description. Dr. Ammous does do online consultations. You can also support an independent doctor. Dr. Amus, say a few words, and then we're going to wrap this up. And Dr. Dunning, if you want to stay 5 more minutes, maybe ask a... And,
Oh, sure.
Yeah. All right. Floor is yours.
Thank you for the
Hello, doctor.
kind introduction. Nice to meet you, Dr. Dunning. You offer a lot of insightful things.
And you too.
So, looking forward to reading your book.
Actually, I have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
so I
send
mean,
you the PDF.
I'm a physician that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
No, I'm sorry. No, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to say
we're having connection issues. So, Dr. Amus, floor is yours.
Yes, I'm just a physician who got disillusioned with the system. I realized that the system doesn't really work to help people get better. The goal is just to get them dependent on pills. And so I went elsewhere to the right answers, and now I help people get healthy that way. And yes,
Great.
You can sign up for my newsletter online if it's free. You consultations, and you can follow me on X and Instagram for.
One, I'd like to introduce a term for you. I call it association is Munchausen by proxy.
Agreed.
Okay. We're going to wrap up the stream because Dr. Amus's time is precious, and I'm already behind by 40 minutes. So, guys, thank you all for watching. Dr. Dunning, thank you so much for joining and sticking around this long to answer all the questions. I will definitely have you on again, or maybe we'll meet in person again, and we'll discuss your latest book coming up, on which I can't wait to read. I got through it. I feel so much better. I had the coconut water, the water. Dr. Amus knows that I just came off a 180-hour dry fast, and I'm just sipping on water a little bit. We do have to go, and I'm going to talk to the doc about my future to live to 120.
Well, thank you so much, Tone. I appreciate the time with you. And doctor, good meeting you. I hope to talk to you soon sometime.
All right.